everyone, welcome back to the Crossroads. John here. Now today we're going to be looking at what I just played through there. I'm going to teach you that solo, some acoustic blues soloing. Now this was inspired by a friend of mine called Jim, and we got together the other day and started playing this blues, and he does this nice stuff where he's mixing chords and lead guitar together, and I'm not too good at that, so I thought let me see if I can learn that a bit more, and you know, I'll make a video on it and show you, what's going on. Hopefully it might help you too. So let's have a look at the chords. I'll take you through the chords and I'll show you the solo. So here are the chords. There we are, they're the chords. Now let's start having a look at the solo. Now the interesting thing with this style of playing is you're playing kind of little chords. So the first thing I do over the E chord is I play this little chord. Now, why am I doing that? Well, I'm starting with an E note, then I'm barring across the 9th fret, G, B and E with my first finger. Now this little chord is an E6 chord, and this sounds bluesy. The 6th note is this C sharp on the 9th fret, all right? So you've got E, G sharp, C sharp. And you're just moving back one to give it a bit of movement. And can you see I'm hitting the low E as well? Just to, make it a bit more interesting. Now we're going to go to the A chord. And what I want to do is I don't want to kind of move all the way down here to the same idea. I want to stay in this position. So I'm going to play this. Now, what I'm doing here is, this is 9 on the G, 8 on the B, 7 here on the high E, and I'm hitting the low A. Alright, now why am I doing this? This chord here is not a 6 chord, it's an A9 chord. So when you're mixing these chords together, what can sound really good is 6 chords. That would be an E6, there's your E note there. If I played an A6, so I could do that. For the E, here's the A. But I want to stay in position, so what I did here was, I'm playing an A9 chord. This is an E, which is the 5th of A. I've got a G, which is the flat 7th of A, and then here there's a B, which is the 9th note from the A major scale. So there's no A in this at all, which is a bit confusing, but sounds good. Here's the A. Alright, then I go back to the E again, do the same thing. Now for the B chord, I change things up a little bit and do another double stop idea. So this lick is on the 7th fret of the B and the E. So that 2 times, and then I'm going to 9 on the G, 9 on the B. And then a little hammer on. This is where we're playing 7 on the G, 7 on the B, hammering on to that major 3rd, that 8 on the G. And then 7 to 9 here on the B. And then 2 strikes again on that 7 on the B, 7 on the high E. Then I do this. So this is a double stop idea where you've got 7 on the G, 6 on the B, move it up 1 fret, and then a double stop, that double stop 9 on the G, 9 on the B. So that whole lick okay, now why did I do this bit here? Well, this comes into thirds. If you're not familiar with thirds, thirds are this. Here's your B here, because we're on the B chord. So here's a B. Think of the B major scale. All right, B. And what we're doing here is we're harmonizing those 3 notes from the major scale. And we're going back to the E chord, so here's the E note. So when you harmonize that, but what I do here is that's where these 2 notes are coming from. I'm just playing really this note. So this one is really just a chromatic note, but it sounds quite going to that chord. So in other words, it's B on its way to E using 6s instead of, you know, just playing some pentatonic thing, you know. So there we go. So let's go from the beginning, recap a little bit. Alright, so now we've soloed through 1 time of the chord progression with kind of some double stop ideas. Now we're going to do some flat picking, and this next bit goes like this. Alright, so this idea here, I'm playing this really from the E7 arpeggio, which sounds very complicated, but goes like this. So this is 7 on the A, 6 to 9 on the D, 7 to 9 on the G, 9 on the B, and then 7 to 10 on the high E. And this is the E7 arpeggio, or dominant arpeggio. But you've got some opportunities here, because can you see where this big gap here, and this one here, and this one here, you can fill in the gaps. So this is the line I play. So that's the first bit. So I'm kind of filling in this gap here. So I'm starting on the 7th fret on the high E, and then 10, 9. Then I do this idea. So I'm picking the 8th fret here on the high E, hammering on to the 10, pulling off to that 8 again, sliding back to the 7th. So far we've got this. Alright, then I'm going to go to the B string and play 10, 9, 8. Back to the 9th fret again on the B, 7 on the high E, and then this note is the E note here, the root note, on the 9 on the G. Now I'm going to go to the 7th of the chord. This is the flat 7, the D, and I'll play that. Now this is a little chromatic thing, so I've filled in that gap again. Now I'm doing something called an enclosure. An enclosure is, here's the note I want to get to. So we can play a note before that, a note after that, before again, and then to the note. So you get that type of thing, which sounds quite nice. And then all I'm doing here again is filling in the gap. So I want to go from this note here, this B note, right, which is the 5th of E, up to the root note of E on the 12th fret. So I'm just playing every note from the 5th of the chord back to the root. These ones, you know, they're not even in the key. But it sounds quite nice, works quite well. All right, which takes us to the next idea, which is this. Now we're playing over the A chord again. So I'm thinking again of thirds in A this time. So I'm finding my A note on the 10th fret here. So 10, 12, 14 are the first 3 notes of A major. And then I'm just playing, harmonizing it. So this is 14 and 12. So if I did the first 3 notes, 10 and 9, 12 and 10, 14 and 12. So that's... But when I'm playing it, so what I do is I start on that 3rd note, so that's 14 and 12 twice, then I move down 1 fret chromatic, alright, back to the 2nd, which is the 12 and the 10, and then I'm going down here from 12 to 11 and 9, that isn't in the scale at all, but it goes so quick, so far by so quick. Back to 10 and 9. So, all right. So that's the third idea there, and then to finish it, I do this. Back on the E chord now. So again, these thirds, but this time in E, so I'm doing the first, like we did here with A. This is 5, 7, 9. And I'm playing these thirds. And then what I do here is I carry on playing the thirds. Alright? So what I'm doing there is, before each third, I go 1 fret below. And just at the end I play 11 on the B, 11 on the high E, slide into 12. That makes like an E triad. So. Right, nearly done now. So now we're back on the B chord. And the B, when you think about it, B7 is going to E. So what I'm going to do here is a little trick where I'm really thinking of E, but I'm starting on B, so I'm going B to E. That seems very complicated, doesn't it? But you know what? I'm just doing exactly the same as I did here, you know, when I did the A, and then I went to the E. Now I'm doing it the same on the B. But this time I'm using things called sixes, all right? So sixes are a bit of a wider interval, and they go like this. So let's say, here's your B note now, so 7, 9, 11. There's what it sounds like in sixes, so this is 8 on the G, 7 on the high E, then 9 and 9, and then 11 and 11. So this time I'm filling in the gaps here, so I'm playing this chord. So this is also 7 on the B. And then instead of just doing these two, I fill in the gap with my first finger here. This is 8 on the B, and then I'm just moving that shape up. So think of that shape, but makes it a bit fuller. And again. And then to the E chord, so that's B going to E. So what we'll do now is, let's go back and listen to the whole of the solo up to speed without the chords, so you can see how it all goes. Alright, so have some fun with that. Let me know if you've got any questions. Do remember to have a look at all our other videos on the channel. We've got loads of good stuff here. And I'll see you next week at the Crossroads.